This week on Inside the Headset, we are featuring Chris Kappas, the head football coach at Louisville High School in Ohio. Coach Kappas recaps his collegiate coaching career and the transition to the high school level. He also discusses his unique experience coaching on all sides of the ball and reflects on his selection as the AFCA FCS Assistant Coach of the Year. Now, let's get inside the headset with Coach Kappas.
Coach Kappas, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing excellent, man. Well, first and foremost, congrats on the new gig, head coach at Louisville High School there in Ohio. Super excited for you, man. Obviously, kept up with you over your career and been a former 35 under 35 guy. And just congrats on that transition, and look forward to talking about that here shortly. But in the spirit of post Super Bowl podcast, with one of the head coaches has been Nick Sirianni, and you start thinking about Mount Union and just a list of absolutely fantastic names. You're a Mount Union grad, Mount Union former football player, coached there for I think a decade, maybe with a brief stop in between. What is it like just kind of having that connection? I mean, one of the most successful programs in probably all of college football levels, just the connection to a lot of those former players and former coaches that are just all over the country now.
Yeah, it's cool. We all pretty much, grew up and played for Coach Karras, and then you go into that program and some of those guys like Nick Sirianni, like the Matt Campbells and Tommy Mannings and those guys. It's cool to be a part of and try to carry on this tradition. And a lot of those guys started their coaching career at Mount Union too. So, when you get your opportunity to coach there, you try to build upon what those guys had laid in the foundation. And it's a cool fraternity though. We all kind of look out for each other and keep tabs on each other too. And, a lot of the opportunities that I've gotten in my coaching career have come from some guys that played at Mount Union too. So it's pretty neat family to be a part of.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm curious, when you're in the moment, like when you were playing there as a player, did you realize kind of how special that bond was, or would go on to be for you? Regardless of the profession, but obviously you end up in football, so that's great. But did you realize how important that bond was going to be for you?
When you're playing there and you choose to go there, you go there for a reason, to be a part of a club of champions. At that point when I was playing, a lot of the coaches that are out there now, there wasn't as many. So I didn't realize how impactful it would be for my coaching career and the amount of guys that would be as successful as they are right now. But it's a pretty cool thing to be a part of. And I think a lot of guys that are in the program now playing and wanting to get into coaching, I think, they see the benefits of where it can take them in the coaching field, coming from a place like Mount Union.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, oftentimes we've had some people that have been on the podcast before that maybe played at a school, then coached at that same school and pretty much progressed. Some of them lucky enough all the way to be a head coach, but they've been able to have a long tenure there. So you're much like most of these guys, right? 2005 all the way to 2020, you're at Mount Union, but you have this 2-year break where you actually break off and go to Bowling Green. What was it like to kind of maybe step away from, I would assume, a comfort zone to a certain extent, just your home, you're home away from home, and then to go get this experience at Bowling Green? What kind of, just talk about the process of going there, what you did there, and then coming back.
Yeah, I mean, that was getting away, like you said, getting away from Mount Union was really, really good for me, because you get to see how other people do it, what else is out there. And, I got done playing at Mountain, and I coached for 3 years at Mount Union and had worked myself up to be a full-time coach at Mount Union. And then there was a Mount Union guy on staff at Bowling Green, Stan Watson, who's now down at Texas A&M. But he kind of was my connection to go up there. But there were on that Bowling Green staff, there was some tremendous coaches. Dave Clausen, who's at Wake Forest now, he was the head coach. Mike Elko, who's at Duke University now, he was the defensive coordinator. Clark Lee, who's at Vanderbilt now, he was our linebackers coach. Nick Monroe, who's now at Minnesota, he was the defensive backs coach, and of course Stan, who I mentioned. But to get a chance to sit down and learn from those guys on a daily basis, that was some of the brightest minds in football now.
Right.
Some of the rising stars in college football, and just that was such an impactful couple of years in my career, and it molded me into into learning a lot of things from some different angles. And then I actually went back to Mount Union after those 2 years, and brought some things back there that I learned, and really it really broadened my horizons, and it was a really good thing for me.
Absolutely. Now, I would be curious, what was the motivation for you to leave? Was it kind of, well, I guess I'll leave that to you to answer. What was the motivation to initially take the role in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, I worked up to full-time coach, and then I wanted to advance my career, and I wanted to be a big-time Division I college football coach, and I knew kind of getting a GA spot was kind of my next step, and I wanted to get my master's done. Actually, when I was playing college football, I always wanted to get into high school football, and just kind of fell into coaching college right away. And then I said, well, I could at least use this next step to get my master's done, and have that fallback plan of going back to high school if that's something I ever wanted to do. So it was kind of a strategic move for my career, which gave me some multiple avenues to take then in the long run.
Yeah. Well, what I asked this question, I put a little pressure on you here to see if you can remember. Mm-hmm. If not, no worries. But what was there anything that you went there to Bowling Green? Because I'm sure at this point in time you're acclimated. Your college football experience was nothing but Mount Union, and then you transitioned to a coach and probably doing a lot of things the same way that you just always done them. You've had success doing it, so why not? And then you go to Bowling Green and you're like, dang, hey, this is pretty good. This is a better way to maybe do something, or something I should throw at Coach Karras. When you came back, how much of that kind of stuff did you throw, and how accepting of maybe some of your new ideas was Coach Karras?
Yeah, at the Division III level, it's let me see how I want to say this. There wasn't as much time spent, when we were playing at Mount Union, there wasn't as much time spent in the meetings and all the little handouts and all the stuff that, as Division I coach, you have the resources to,
right.
Give those things out and do the extra meeting time and all that stuff. So it was a much deeper dive, I would say, in terms of just presenting the information to the players and giving them the physical handouts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Was one thing that I thought, I could have probably done a better job of when I was coaching at Mount Union. And I went to Bowling Green and like, all right, these are the type of things that these big time coaches are giving these guys, these type of very detailed handout sheets, meetings, presenting these things, this information this way.
Yeah.
The way we constructed practice. There's just different ways that Coach Clausen did a really, really good job. He's one of the best I've seen of structuring a practice, managing a practice, making it flow really well. How they did special teams. There's a lot of things really in all areas that, when you come and you have that experience for a couple of years, and then I came back to Mount Union, I had all the ideas, and as I was still a young coach and still real green, but and that was Vince Karras' first year as the head coach when I went back to Mount in 2013. So I was coming in. He was his first year as head coach, and Jeff Dart was his first year calling plays at Mount, the offensive coordinator, and we were all kind of going through it together for the first time of really having major rules, elevated rules. So I brought a lot of good ideas back that we used, and some that just didn't fit fit what we did, but it was good to see get to use and experiment with some of that stuff.
No doubt about it. Now, upon returning, like you said, you sit around, you bounce ideas off with a bunch of new guys on the staff. And you kind of look at your trajectory from 13 all the way up to 20. It's kind of absolutely crazy when I sat down and looked at it, because I didn't notice about you, unfortunately. I wish I did over the years. I would have probably asked you a lot more questions. But so you held the role of special teams coordinator, and you were DC for a little bit, OC for a little bit, back to DC for a little bit, and it's just not very common. Don't get me wrong, I've talked to guys that have been coordinators on both sides of the ball, but it's far and few between, especially at the same place. What was that experience like to be on just all sides of the ball, all phases of the game, and how did that help you develop as a coach overall?
Yeah, it was a huge blessing to be, to get those opportunities, and for, Vince Karras to trust that I was a good enough coach that, I could bounce around and coach different positions and coach different sides of the ball. And, I think, I'd always played special teams and whatnot, so that wasn't a huge change when I got back. My first year back, I coordinated special teams, and I really coached the receivers. So that was my first year ever coaching offense. But when I learned offense when I was at Bowling Green, because Coach Elko trusted me enough to draw all the cards every single day.
Yeah. So,
in the MAC, you saw a lot of the, up and coming offensive schemes and whatnot. So that's where I learned how to block, how to block run plays, what pass schemes gave us the most fits. So I really, and I kept it in my mind, like, hey, maybe one day I'll get to call some plays. So I took note of the plays that I liked and formations that I liked. And then when I was there, Coach Clausen, he and I ran the scout team together, the offensive scout team. So, for the defense. And, he taught me a ton, because he was a tremendous play caller back in his day, from his days at Villanova with Brian Westbrook. And, he was a big time play caller. So I learned a lot, from those 2 years that gave me that kind of foundation of understanding offense a little bit better and what they're trying to do and blocking things.
Can I push the pause button real quick? Did you just – I hate it took me that long to process that. Did you say you were running scout cards with the head ball coach at Bowling Green?
Correct.
Oh, my
That's
goodness.
Right.
So was it a little pressure added with that? Or
There was, because I had to meet with them. We practiced in the mornings, and we would draw cards, and, we guys would getting ready to go home for the evening. And like my last thing that I would do each night, I would sit down with Coach Clausen, the head coach, and we'd go through the cards, and he wanted them blocked perfectly. Like if we were practicing a blitz, he wanted that blitz drawn on there, and he wanted that blitz picked up perfectly. And so it was great. I got to learn protections, I got to learn all that stuff, and sat down with him every night to go over those cards. So that was a tremendous opportunity for me to learn football, learn offense, and learn from one of the greatest guys out there, that's doing some really good things right now. But that led me back to Mount, and then I coached offense. I coached receivers for my first year back, and did the special teams, and learn by fire there of coaching the other side of the ball. With individual stuff, really trying to learn how to teach receivers and working with some tight ends and stuff, and helped a lot with the pass game planning and whatnot. And then after that year, I went back over to defense, and Vince had run the defense his first year being a head coach when he hired me back, and then he just decided that I think he wanted to give me a little bit more responsibility, and he wanted to learn a lot of the stuff that we were doing at Bowling Green defensively that was in the Elko system, and so I fostered that a lot to install a lot of that stuff. And then throughout that spring, he was like, well, this defense better than I do. Why don't you be the defense coordinator and call it? And, he let me go full go on that. And we installed the same defense that we were running at Bowling Green. And then, I did that for, 14, 15, 16. We won the championship in 15. And then, in 17, going into the 17 season, we had just lost, in 16 to John Carroll. And, Jeff Dart was the offensive coordinator. He ended up getting the O-line job down at Western Kentucky, and Vince had obviously his most experience was on defense, and he said, "Well, you coached offense for a year. You knew what you were doing. Like, would you be comfortable going over and calling the plays?" And I said, "Well, heck, yeah, for sure. I'd love to do that." And so I did that in the spring, and Larry Karras had retired, but he's still around every day at practice, and one of the greatest offensive minds in the history of college football. Yeah. So he was a tremendous resource for me to, really develop the things that I want to do offensively, how they fit the things that we were doing prior to me taking over. And we ended up winning the national championship in 17, my first year calling plays on offense. And, I was coaching quarterbacks for the first time. And, I can't say I was an expert quarterback coach, right away, but I knew what guys were going to be open based off the concepts and the coverages, because I knew defense really well. Yeah. And we really had a fun year, and that was probably the most fun I had coaching were those 2 years I was on offense in 17 and 18. And then, Jeff ended up getting sick, and then came back from Western Kentucky. And then, he got he got all cleared and healed up, and he came back on staff at Mount, and just made sense for me to go back over to defense and get to take back over the offense. And then, that kind of led me to my next opportunity at Austin Peay. So
yeah,
it was, coaching both sides of the ball is just so much fun. And, it just continuously gave me a better understanding of what defense is trying to do, what offense is trying to do, things that give the other side problems, and has built my, kind of tools to advance our schemes, whichever side I was coaching on.
Yeah. It's kind of like one always fueled the other one, allowed you to be a better coach, on the opposite side of the ball. And with all that being said, obviously we do this podcast. We want to obviously introduce you to the coaching world, and then we want people to have some takeaways. Maybe they're juggling through similar things in their career, all that kind of stuff. That's why we have so many different coaches for all levels and stuff like that. What would you suggest maybe for somebody to, obviously your situation was super unique, that it was just this comfortability with your staff, that everything could just work where you guys are bouncing around like that, and everybody's not going to have that experience. What would you encourage a coach, and maybe just a lifelong defensive coordinator guy, how could he maybe manufactures an opportunity like that, whether it's, sitting at a buzz session offensively at the convention rather than, going to watch more defense or something like that? Or, what kind of stuff would you suggest to a coach?
Yeah. I mean, just like you said, go listen to offensive guys talk, and you'll really understand, what they're trying to do. And it's just funny going back and forth. Like, you think this guy, you think the offense sees it so much differently than you see it, but they really don't. I mean, football's football. Fundamentally, it's a simple game, and people have their own little twists and turns on it. But try to create opportunities for you to go learn from a good O-line coach, and maybe start as a position at a time. Start up front on how they're blocking things and what they're looking for in different fronts as an offense, and then to listen to what. How they're coaching a quarterback. What, are they looking at the safeties? Are they looking at the, what are they reading? And that's going to help you become a better coach as a defensive guy anyways. And then one thing that as a head coach now, one thing that I really want to provide my staff some opportunities that, just like the opportunities I had would be to, have some times where, they're going to go over and coach the other side of the ball, and we don't have spring practice in Ohio, like a lot of states do. But, if we were doing spring practice, I would take 2 or 3 days and do a crossover thing where, the offensive coaches are going to coach the defense coach are going to go coach the offense. And, just any little tidbits you can pick up just from fundamentals to overall scheme, I think is going to make you a better coach. And,
right.
You never know when those opportunities are going to come knocking that say hey, you're a defensive guy, but I need a tight ends coach. What do you think? And now you're prepared. You have some tools in the box to go interview for that. And, so it's, I don't know. I just think, you got to take all those opportunities that you can and go get it.
That's right. Well, you kind of ended that on, this back and forth offense, defense coordinator. Then you get an opportunity to once again kind of get out your comfort zone, leave Mount Union, and you took a job over with Scotty Walden in the Austin Peay football program, FCS program over in Tennessee. What was that transition, that conversations that go on with the wife, the family, even the staff that you probably built such a strong rapport, your student athletes? What was some of the dialogue around maybe making that transition?
Yeah, it was very tough. You have your dreams and you have a picture of where, how your career is going to go. But I was at Mount for quite a few years, played there. My wife went to Mount Union as well. We grew up, I grew up in Pittsburgh, which is only about an hour and a half from Alliance. She's from right down the road. So, we always dreamed of, we're going to go, Division I route, and wherever it takes us, going to take us. But, when that phone call comes, it's, there's never a good time to tell your wife, hey, we're moving, pretty far away. And, but we had the conversations, and there were some opportunities that kind of got us ready for it, of some jobs that I interviewed for, that I didn't take, or, some jobs that, came up and I thought I might have a chance of. And, I tried to give her as much advance notice as possible to start getting her mindset right to that this could actually happen. But, I think, I had passed up on a few opportunities before too, but when Scotty Walden called me, he and I just our values, our mindset, our personalities just aligned so greatly that, and we didn't really know each other very well. You know, I mean, it was kind of some mutual people that we knew. We had talked a couple years before about a job, that he didn't end up getting a head job, but we stayed in touch. So, you know, I was comfortable with knowing who he was, but I'd never met him, you know, before I took the job. But, you know, I just felt like, you know, and we're you know, very religious people. You know, I just felt like that this was just the right opportunity, that God was telling us that, hey, this is where I'm sending you. And this is, you know, this is the right person that's going to provide a great opportunity for you. And, you know, it was tough. And that transition, you know, it's not just you pick up one day and your family's there with you. You know, there's a month or 2, 3 months, whatever it is that you got to go. You're down there and you're living out of a hotel, or, you know, you got an apartment for a little bit, and then, you know, you have to find a house, and your wife's here, you know, back home, and she's trying to pack up the house by herself. And, you know, you don't really think about those things too much when you take that job, but, it's tough. It's tough on a family. We had 2 young children at the time. You know, it was only 2 years ago. So our kids, we had a newborn essentially and a 3-year-old. So it was tough. But at the end of the day, it helped us grow. We faced some adversity that really grew us tighter as a family. And it was, you know, it was everything I hoped it would be down there. It was, you know, and I was not led in a bad path. So
yeah,
we were very happy with that.
Absolutely, man. Well, you know, you had a tremendous amount of success defensively there. End up winning the AFCA FCS Assistant Coach of the Year this past season, based off your efforts and just doing a great job with that defense over there at Austin Peay University. So congrats on that. Now let's talk a little bit about that transition, though, because you just we talked about the FCS transition, but you're making another one kind of currently. I'm assuming you're still semi in it, because like you said, it does take a while to get completely acclimated. You just took the head job at Louisville High School over in Ohio, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast. What was that decision in conversation and dialogue? You moved to FCS program, have success, and now you're making another transition. What was some of that dialogue like?
Yeah, there was a lot of factors that went into that decision. You know, primarily family. You know, it was a family decision that you know, there's some opportunities that you know, for my wife to do things that she always wanted to pursue. You know, for us to get back closer to home and you know, be at a place where we're a little bit better. You know, family quality of life, where we, you know, I could see my kids grow up a little and spend a little bit more time with my family. Yeah. You know, and like I said, you know, growing up, I had tremendous high school coaches that coached me in Pittsburgh at North Hills High School. And then, you know, tremendous coaches, obviously, that made me want to get into coaching. So I kind of always wanted to take that high school path as you know, I felt like that would be a great quality of life. And, you know, and this just a lot of stars aligned at the same time. Yeah. And, again, you know, it just felt like it was a sign that it was time for a change. And you know, and the transition's been really, really good. You know, we moved up here, and then, you know, right now I'm just pretty much, just running getting to know the guys right now, and getting to learn what makes them tick, what motivates them, learning what resources we have available, trying to take inventory of jerseys and pads and all that stuff. And, you know, all the fun stuff that is trying to give these guys a very, very, organized and structured plan to be successful. You know, and then trying to establish a culture, trying to change some mindsets of some people that, you know, that we can succeed here. Right. And it's been a very traditionally successful program in the past, but has not been as good as of recently. So just trying to, you know, work those day-to-day things that, you know, that the only way to success is doing it every single day and doing it as best your ability, and having a great organized, structured plan. So, it's been a fun transition, doing a lot of things that, you know, I haven't had to deal with in the past, of doing more fundraising stuff and, you know, learning, going out and calling people in the community who've supported us in the past, and trying to, you know, get them to stay on board to donate or support our program. You know, and just a lot more head coach things that, you know, just like being a first time dad, you you're never really prepared for it until you're just thrown in the fire. And
That's
it's,
right.
that's like being a head coach. So, I was fortunate to be a part of being a first time head coach with Vince Karras going through it. And then, when Jeff took over a little bit at Mount, I was there for a couple months of that. And then when Scotty Walden took the job at Austin Peay, that was his first Division I head football coaching job. So I've been through the transition with some other guys. So I kept a good keen eye on a lot of things that were going on and the challenges that they faced. But I'm really having a lot of fun with this and really excited about what's gonna come in the future.
Yeah, you kind of answered my question there. I was going to ask you next. I was going to talk about maybe some of the stuff that helped prepare you for some of this transition. That stuff you probably, like you mentioned, hadn't had to deal with at any portion, of coaching. Some of the oddball things of, number one, just been a high school coach. Number two, been a high school head football coach, ordering equipment. You've had the luxury mostly at a FCS program to, have people that made sure the equipment was out on the field. You didn't have to worry too much about that. And probably even at the Division III level, you probably had some assistants and, you didn't have to go wash clothes or, manage who's going to wash the,
Division III, we did it all. I used to mow the grass on the practice field, then go line it, and then go help switch the laundry. So, I think Division III football is a lot closer to some high school in terms of the extra stuff that you got to do. So that helps too. That's
a great. Well, I'm happy you made that point there because now all of a sudden that's super important, and so you're finding yourself in some of these roles. Like I guess to kind of present the question to you, even though you semi-answered it already, was what are some of those experiences that you had over your career that's now helping you to go take over this program and bring it back to the prominence it once had?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that the program was always built at Mount Union. I was never part of building the program there. I walked in as a player, very successful program, got into his coaching. You know what I mean? So it was all about maintaining that and fostering an environment of player ownership in the program. It was already established. So it was really just fostering that environment. But then, when I went to Bowling Green, I really learned from Coach Clausen just the organization piece, and he always pushed the right buttons in terms of trying to push guys to the next to take the next step. Whether it was as a defense, as a individual player, as a team. I was so fortunate to be there in 2011 and 2012. When that program was really on the rise, and then it was really starting. 11, we were decent. 12, we got to be pretty good, and then 13, it was my first year that I was gone. That was the first year they won the MAC. So like to see that program builder, because that's what he is. I mean, and one of the best to do it. Is proven he can do it everywhere. To be a part of that day-to-day process of building a program, tremendous experience. That's helping me, preparing me to build my own program now. Scotty Walden, same way, at Austin Peay, talk about, one of the things that I think is one of his biggest strengths is he knows exactly who he is, what he stands for, and there's a very clear, no gray area path on how we're going to do things. And the players understand who we are. The players understand what we stand for. The players understand the exact things that they need to do to get to where we want to go and build a program and build successful people. So just that clear, concise plan that's out there, and you get a staff manual at the beginning of the year from Coach Walden, and it's thick, but he covers every single word of that. And so there is zero gray area, and exactly the things that you're required to do on a daily basis. Exactly the things that, our core values. They're not just words on the wall. What we stand for, the things that we got to do every single day. And the player, and he keeps, he makes sure that you're responsible, that the players better know those things too. So, that's been a fun thing for me to really kind of, mimic those things that, of all three places that I've been, here's our core values. Here's the things that we got to do. Here's our program goals. Here's our program mantra. This is our brand of football. That's been a lot of fun. And now, I get to make sure my staff understands those things and that our players, because there's nothing worse than when you go somewhere and there's 1,000 sayings on the wall. And, you know, if you ask the player, like, oh, what's that mean? And they're like, I don't know, coach. You know, we want our guys to really understand like what we are, you know, who what we stand for, who we are. And, you know, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's developing men of character that are going to be able to handle success, handle adversity, and then go out in the world and have a mindset that they're going to be able to take on whatever challenge comes their way and be the best at doing it.
Coach, well, I'm excited to watch your progress there at Louisville. I know you'll do a tremendous job as you've done everywhere you've been. But before I let you go, I just wanted to ask a question about the AFCA FCS Assistant Coach of the Year award that you did win here at the previous convention. I made mention of that. You know, I'm always just so proud that award is not given by me or, you know, one of the people here on our staff that just watches, you know, football and says, Coach Kappas must be doing a good job. Let's give it to him. This is voted on by your peers, other coaches that have watched your body of work, may have sat on the other sideline on a Saturday against you, something like that. What does it mean to you having that aspect of it? Like this is just wasn't given to you. This was, you know, given to you by your peers. You know, this was voted on by your peers. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean that's the most humbling, ultimate honor I think as a coach is that you can get, you know, as an assistant coach. I mean that's the coach of the year, and it's, you know, it's the people that are your peers that are taking notice and nominating you and voting on that. You know, and what I'm very proud of, you know, part of that award is, you know, it's not just what you do on the field, it's what you do off the field. You know, just, you know, we take pride in our academics. We take pride in the way our players serve the community. You know, my goal every single day is to, you know, never cut corners, to do things the right way, and make all my decisions with the utmost amount of integrity, and then, you know, treat people the right way. Treat people, you know, whether they're the, you know, lowest on the totem pole or the, you know, the highest on the totem pole, that everybody should be treated with dignity, with respect. And, you know, like that makes it really makes me very proud to get that award. Cause I think people take note of that. And, you know, if you do those things on a daily basis and you do treat people the right way and you go about your business and handle things the right way, the success, the statistics, all that stuff will come, because there'll be a lot of people that are willing to help you get to where you want to go. And, you know, and you'll have those resources at your fingertips that people will want to help you get where you want to go. And you know, that's been my case. So, very, you know, very humbling, very, you know, very proud of that award. And, you know, that's certainly the first plaque that goes up in my new office. And you know, it's going to be front and center for people to see, because I'm extremely proud of that.
Yeah. Well, I'm proud of you and proud to know you, man. I'm excited for you as always. And thanks for dropping some gems for everybody. Before I let you go, if you want to share any of your social media for yourself or for your new program, please take the opportunity to do so now.
Yeah. My Twitter would be the easiest way to follow me and our program. It's at C Kappas, Kappas. Pretty simple there. And you'll see all the links to all of our program stuff, and just kind of getting a lot of that stuff on the build up now. So it's in early stages, but we're gonna have a strong social media presence at Louisville.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, we'll make sure to add that to the show notes, and best of luck to you this spring and as we roll into the fall. Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset. If you heard anything on this episode that you would like to learn more information about, head over to afcapodcast.com, where you can find every episode and all of the corresponding show notes. While you're there, take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please let us know by sending an email to podcast@afca.com. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at Inside the Headset and tag it when you share each episode. You can stay up to date with all things AFCA by following the @WeAreAFCA Twitter account. Every episode of Inside the Headset can also be found on your favorite audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you are not currently a member of the AFCA, be sure to find us online at afca.com and apply to join over 10,000 NFL, college, and high school coaches from around the country who are striving to be the best they can be. With an AFCA membership, you gain invaluable access to the annual AFCA convention, the bi-monthly magazine, and the new and improved digital library, which contains thousands of videos and articles contributed by hundreds of current and former football coaches. You can also visit AFCAinsider.com to sign up for our free weekly email newsletter on the right-hand side of the screen. It comes out every Tuesday at lunch and is filled with great articles and stories written by many of the same coaches you hear on the podcast. It's geared to help you become a better coach tomorrow than you are today. Be sure to connect with me on Twitter at Coach Mario Price. And remember, the AFCA is not just an annual convention. It is an association that continually promotes education, guidance, and networking. But it is also so much more than that. The AFCA is about celebrating the past and educating the future. It is about developing great coaches who will produce great teams and even better people. So invest in your skill set and impact today by engaging with the AFCA.